Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I make for Dinnerhe as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen. It's on Spotify from an axe named Den titled Blue Journey, and we're going to listen through it from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. We also have lyrics at the end kindly provided by Dinnerhe, but without further ado, let's go, let's do it. I mean, it's incredibly creative off the bat with the different synth and key patterns. So wide in the stereo field, all around the back.
When they get a heartbreak, it heals me. I yearn to meet a girl, incredible girl. If I fade into blue, catch me. Don't you want the transom? Is where I bury. Can you don't know? That's where I bury. Can't go good jealous. Is where I bury. All the emotions are blue.
So a lot of the joy of this comes from not only the vocals and the varying patterns of them, because I appreciate the softness and the smoothness of the vocal sort of performance, also with the peppiness of some of those dun 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 dun. They're really cool melodies there, they're really cool concepts. But it's also this attention to like the synth and the keys and how they flutter in and disperse around the sides of the stereo field from here, with the bass and drums being very compatible on the low end to sort of accentuate those kind of particular the key features. Bit of vocal chops as well, nice. And it goes back to left to right. Really, really clever. And groove. My mask be clouded. I'm so weary. The emotions are blue with you. Don't you want the transom? Is where I bury. Can you don't know? That's where I bury. Can't go good jealous. Is where I bury. All the emotions are blue. The upscaling or the pitching up of the vocals with it as a harmony is an interesting choice. It's kind of the antithesis of what a lot of like stuff I've heard up until now is. I think people are taking their vocals less seriously, in a sense that we're trying to sort of like go for more of the, oh, that's an interesting sound, I want more of that thing, rather than a, oh, this is hard, or oh, this is like deep kind of thing. Does that make sense? It could be just sort of like a new generational kind of thing, but I haven't heard as much kind of like pitch shifting and stuff like that with vocals and choruses as I have recently. And shout out to Den though, they're fantastic in their post. It sounds incredibly professional. Portamento on the synthesizer is gorgeous as well. Woodwinds as well? And did we just have a fade out there at the end and amongst like kind of pitched up vocals with like a xylophone going on there? Because if that's the case, that's awesome. That's dope. That's incredibly creative. There's a lot to appreciate about this. It's kind of a unique track. In my time reviewing, I haven't really heard songs like this, which have kind of caught me by surprise with the way they've been sort of like, it kind of reminded me like a little bit of how I felt about kind of like Tyler the Creator stuff, where like it's just so kind of unique or like, it's just kind of, it kind of catches you. Or even like Frank Ocean stuff. If this is what like the future of like R&B kind of looks like, I'm excited for it. But in the meantime, we have lyrics again kind of provided by Dinnerhe for this track titled Blue Journey. So I can meet a girl when I get heartbreak. Okay, if I fade to blue, just catch me fall into my cabin, watching the moon fall in your eyes and moonlight through the blue. Okay, all motions are blue. Okay, alright. Romance blossoms in the mind, melancholy romance embraces the dance, describing the appearance of blue. Oh, okay. I kinda, when I get heartbreak, it heals me. I yearn to meet a girl, an incredible girl. Is that because we're expecting to be heartbroken? Is that it? That the stress of being in love is too much? I don't know, we'll talk about that more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Den titled Blue Journey. What do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone who is used or more used to being disappointed when they're in love. And they want to meet a person so that they can get heartbroken because that heals them, I suppose. Or it sets their expectations back to reality because they can't trust when that isn't the case. And they talk about like the all emotions of blue and the melancholy dance of love and stuff like that. So I get the impression that their sort of interpretation of it is that they typically do this dance with anyone they get with. It inevitably ends in heartbreak, and they're just kind of like describing the situation to get to that. I could be wrong. There could be more nuance to it. I appreciate the poetry within the track, though. The guy is a really clever lyricist, and even if that is a translation, if it's not a verbatim one, I'm hoping it's close because it's incredible. Den is a great vocalist. You know, I've got solid control of like the head chest voice. We aren't super huge with our range. Often we'd use like the pitch shifting to go up a step or to harmonize within ourselves in the chorus sections, but I'm really satisfied with the way that we expressed ourselves, that kind of low-key, lo-fi-ish, kind of sleepy tone of approaching those verse lines there without sort of like over-singing it or overdoing it. I kind of dig it. It's nice and chill and calm and down to earth. I appreciate that. I think that we, again, like what allowed ourselves to sort of like make each section distinct is how we treated, again, like having the vocal chops or the cuts on top of it or whatever, you know. It was more about adding kind of special pretty things to allow ourselves to have more sort of kind of more points of notice there. I think that's what a lot of some of modern production might be, is simply not having the voice as a bass line and doing lots of other stuff on top to kind of make it really sort of sparkle. It sounded like we had a genuine sort of connection with what we were singing about and what we were talking about, which is always a plus. And I think that for the mood of it was appropriate, that kind of sleepy tune, that blue kind of thing. He didn't sound like perky and over top and hyper energetic about it, which would have been weird, you know. So I'm glad that matched and tonally, and yeah, I think stylistically it's a great fit. Because the track itself at 3 minutes 13 is just chock-a-block with all sorts of crazy stuff. Lots of interesting synths and key parts and bass and drum and even some xylophone, some weird kind of noise foley-ish stuff later on. There's all sorts of really dope stuff happening within it. There's typically, it's basically like got verses and choruses, more of kind of like traditional sort of pop structure with verses and choruses with like an instrumental intro and like a fade out at the end. But like, it's what is included within the track that really makes it special. The drums are relatively, like minimalist. They're down to earth. You have sort of like kind of slow, kind of quarter-ish kind of accents with occasional sort of cymbal and kind of clap or kind of snare parts. The drums aren't over the top. There's some 16th note grooves there, but like they're not too much. They're kind of in the background. And that's a very similar kind of like feeling to what I had about the bass, which was in that lower register there, harmonized well and sort of highlighted the root notes of the progressions, but ultimately was not too sort of dominant and just kind of allowed a floor for everything else to stand on. The keys, how they sparkled on the right hand specifically, there was some really pretty stuff in the upper high register of the treble clef there. We didn't overcomplicate the triads or ideas in their concepts with the broken chords there. There were some interesting sort of extensions within the harmonies there that really did kind of shine, add a sense of emotional complexity to it. It did sound kind of melancholy, which kind of makes sense with the vocals and the verse and stuff like that. And we had this kind of portamento synth that went backwards to forwards, and it was kind of rounded off and almost kind of wow, had an interesting sort of like really smooth attack to it. that was very kind of warm and kind of inviting. That went between the left and right sides of the stereo field, which was very interesting to me. It almost seemed like we were kind of inviting the listener to go back and forth and kind of swing our head and just kind of get lost in the lull of that, like a pendulum or something like that. It was hypnotic. It was really pretty. Like we had I don't know how many different layers of synths and keys we had in there. They were clearly much of the focal point. Granted, we did have occasional accents with xylophones and the ding 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 kind of stuff there, or it could be another similar instrument. And I don't have any complaints about that. I've got nothing but love for when we include something we haven't previously had in the track as like an end game point to kind of elevate it further and kind of make it even bigger than it already was, even though the track was never particularly kind of like upbeat to begin with. It never got bigger than it started with. It was a similar kind of aesthetic from start to finish, but what made the track interesting was the changes in the way the instruments were played, or rather the consistency, but then the layering adjustments occurring there. There was a similar bass line the entire time, as far as I'm aware. There might have been changes occasionally, like near the end where it kind of stuttered on it, kind of oscillated kind of thing, but other than that, the theme of the track, it was very kind of, again, with the extensions and the harmony illustrating an emotional complexity to it, the slowness of the tempo and everything like that, with the drums not really ever kind of pushing it forward to become too energetic. Nothing was energetic. It was incredibly sleeping sounding, which was very peaceful and calming and sort of like chilled out to listen to. And it was just incredibly intriguing. Like, it was very palatable. It was very pretty sounding with the choices in the mid to high range there, the tones and timbres being very welcoming and inviting, and it was never too affronting or too aggressive. It's like it's kind of inviting you to sit down there and sort of simmer with those thoughts and kind of flesh it out with them. And I enjoy that. I think for an intro track, if that illustrates the rest of the sort of aesthetic of the EP, then that's great. Pink Friend, it's dope. But just ultimately, it sounds like someone going through some stuff, not really sure whether they want to get up yet. It's kind of murmuring through sleepy times. And I think that when you think about the vocals and the lyrics, that makes sense, as well as the instrumental choices. I think it's very well connected, without a note out of place. Finally, we have the studio recording, mixing, mastering, which is absolutely top tier. It's commercial grade, like spectacular EQing, filtering, kind of like work with the vocals and different sort of like meta settings there. The keys and synths and the bass and drums were lovingly notched within the frequency spectrum and the stereo field, with things going backwards and forwards, automation back into it's just wonderfully handled there. It's very, very impressive production in post. There was adequate dynamic range, things were not the same loudness all the time. It was nice and loud without pumping. And again, like the tuning on the vocals with the way they were not only sort of like harmonies, but also things to elevate it is exactly the epitome of what you're supposed to use those tools for, in my opinion. It's not to fix a performance, it's to improve it and to make something unique and original that benefits the listener and is something you can kind of say benefits the song. And it's not to make up for a flaw or a weakness, you know. That's my review, though, of this track from an actor named Den, titled, Blue Dinnerhe. I had a great time with it. I'm very impressed with this and hopefully you enjoyed it too. If you did, please go show some love to Den via the various social medias and a Spotify page, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review, or in the next SC Patrons video, should I say. Spiderhands out.